Hi there and welcome to another video. My name is Dan Hookham from Component 6. Today we're going through another example of some of the foundational stuff for local government people. And today we're going to talk about personal productivity, which is a really exciting topic. So what we're going to cover today is what is the difference between AI for personal productivity, process optimization, AI for strategic change. We're just going to run over that. I'm just going to run over the risks again briefly. So if you've seen our what is AI video, you'll already know these things, but we're just going to run over them briefly. Then we're going to talk about where AI works really well in the context of personal productivity and how you can become empowered with AI in a personal productivity sense. Okay. So when we revisit this just briefly, there are three different types of applications of AI as we see it. We've got personal productivity AI, which we're going to be talking about today, to enhance your productivity on a day-to-day basis in the way that you work. And then we've got process optimization AI, which we'll talk about in a different video, and strategic change AI, which again we talk about in a different video. When we think about each one's strengths and limits, what we do know is that from a personal productivity sense, there's a lot of benefits around automation of tasks, schedules, boosting writing and idea generation. My guess is you're probably using some of these tools already in some shape or form to try and boost and get that little extra in the way that you do your work every day. We also know that some of the limits around these things at the moment are they of course lack judgment and context, the bits that really make you very valuable in this whole process. And of course they lack a bit of empathy. Now you can ask for an empathetic approach, but they don't have empathy, they are merely machines. And again, they tend to oversimplify things and think quite shallow in quite a shallow manner about the problem. So these are things that we need to take into account when we're trying to get those particular benefits. In terms of risks, I want to be very clear up here. Again, if you've seen our AI, what is AI video, you already know these sorts of things. The things that we're really interested in from a personal productivity point of view is the ethical side. Is this who you want to be when you're using AI to get these jobs done? Do you understand the implication of it going wrong if you're using it on a recurrent basis from a personal productivity perspective? But most of all, untrue truths and protecting people's data. So we want you to make sure that remember that the AI doesn't care whether it's right or wrong. It just wants to give you an answer, and therefore you need to check those answers. And then when you're dealing with data, try and think about data in the context of how you're using it and who that data belongs to. With that in mind, we want to make sure that you're protected. Because you're a local government and you use Office 365 as your main productivity tool, you have the luxury of having a very clear answer that if you're using any LGA data or citizen data, i.e. stuff that's under your contract or the contract that the LGA has with somebody else or as with citizens as part of the Australian privacy principles, then you need to keep it in tools that are administered by your LGA. What that is to say is that if you're using a tool like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, any of those tools, when you put the data in, it goes to America. If you're using a free tool, then that data is used to train the model as well. Now you can flick buttons to try and turn that stuff off, but it goes to America regardless, and therefore you're not adhering to the Australian privacy principles. So if you're using that type of data, make sure it stays in a tool that you have governance over or your IT team have governance over, which in your example is Copilot. If you're automating a process, make sure you keep a human in the loop. It doesn't matter so much for us in this personal productivity perspective, but still worth considering because the processes can be micro processes about how we're choosing to do our job each day. And again, remember, AI doesn't care about being right. It just cares about giving you an answer. So check before you finalize and accept anything. And finally, again, from a personal perspective, always argue with the AI. If you've got any doubt, ask for proof and reasoning. Don't accept the first answer. Okay, let's talk about what does an AI-empowered individual look like and why you would do this sort of stuff. Well, there's a good reason as to why, which is 4 out of 5 people in your organization are using AI in some shape or form to do their job. So some of the things that they'll start to experience are that you can get anything written 60 to 70% quicker, the first draft thereof, which is an amazing change. You can achieve the same level of basic analysis by combining multiple sources internally. So if you're looking at spreadsheets and Word documents or policies and spreadsheets, combining them together 40 to 50% quicker is a vast time saving. All of these things should give you an extra 10 to 20% more in a week. So that's in line with the federal government's findings when they ran that across 7,000 employees, 57 different agencies, a co-pilot trial. They said that they achieved 4 hours saving per week on average, which is pretty impressive across that pool. Communication errors or misunderstandings are reduced by 15 to 25%. This is often overlooked, but the idea that you can talk to an AI, share with it the context you're looking to achieve and the objective you're looking to achieve, and have it rewrite something for you so it meets those objectives and tests it against those objectives is really very valuable. As we start looking at external information as well, your ability to contextualize and reference that information, find it and make it relevant is 40 to 50% faster, because that's what AI and large language models in particular are really, really good at, which is bringing all that information together and giving it context. And then able to understand new topics and concepts 30 to 40% faster. What does that mean? Really what that means in your world is that when you're engaging other people who are subject matter experts, you can decrease the time to value with those people by understanding a bit more about that topic and asking the questions that are really pertinent to get you an outcome much, much quicker. Okay, one of the other things we should say about being an AI empowered individual, it's not about the tools at all. It's about the mentality that goes with it. So you need the curiosity to keep looking and seeing if you can do it in a different way. You need the tools to try those things, and you need the understanding to be able to manage the risk of the outcomes as well. Okay. So how do we use AI with your work information? Well, let's have a look. So when we're thinking about how you might use AI, we're going to look at 3 different types of use case you might use it in. So you might use Copilot, for example, in summarization of a particular component. So we've got example there of wanting to create a new induction pack, wanting to incorporate the Local Government Act for a new starter to explain how it all fits together. Using these sorts of things where you're bringing these bits together as text to create a summarization across all of them and then tailor that is a great way of using AI for those particular tools. When we look at number 2, we're looking at analysis. We might be bringing in data from multiple locations. We've got an example here where we bring in data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, but you might bring in data from some of your surveys, community engagements, a whole number of other things, and you want to bring them all together. So AI is really good in that context, and you can again do all of that within Copilot. No problems to get that sort of stuff done. And then finally on the right there, number 3, we've got creation. So the idea of you creating a response to something whereby a citizen may have responded or written an email where they're getting frustrated. How do you create a response that de-escalates the situation and helps you get that sort of stuff done? So this is a great example of where you might use AI. So we've talked about how you might use AI to address 2 or 3 scenarios there. Now let's think about how you might use agents to repeatedly do those activities. When we use AI, we're using AI, we're asking a question, we're getting an answer back, and typically what we're doing is that we're then giving it context so we can get a better answer, something that's more applicable to what we're actually trying to achieve. What happens there is that we're writing a paragraph of a question and then we're inserting another paragraph to give it context. If we wanted to do that on a repeated basis, we would have to add the context in every single time. If we wanted our team to do those things, we would have to give them all that context paragraph. This is where M365 agents in Copilot really shine for you. So you're able to use M365 Copilot agents to be able to do repetitive tasks and keep team consistency by setting up an agent where you give it that paragraph for context and you can give it access to information sources so it's grounded in that information. Then what happens is when you ask questions to that particular agent, it's always using that context and it's always using that information. So if you're doing a task repetitively, it's a great solution for you. And if you want consistency across teams, it's also a great solution. The other thing that we should bear in mind is, of course, you can do these things in things such as ChatGPT under projects, but if you do it in an M365 agent, you can use your corporate data, your SharePoint data, for example, a Teams chat, a whole range of things. And it's all locked in there within the boundaries of your particular environment. So they make great solutions for using those things across teams and for repetitive tasks. Okay, in closing, one of the things that we hope you take from this is that you should treat AI like you would a Google search. So if you feel uncomfortable about putting information into a Google search, i.e. you wouldn't put in somebody's citizens' information into a Google search, don't put it into a free tool, right? Use the tools that are governed by your IT team. So use the right AI tool for the job. Of course, you can use all those other tools. Google Gemini is really, really good at dealing with imagery, for example, and photos. Then we have other tools like Canva, which is really good at creating images and creating them in a way that's reusable across other platforms. Just keep thinking, could I use AI for this? So we ask you to maintain your curiosity as you go through and keep going and keep trying and keep giving it a go. Please remember your job is not at risk here. What we're looking for from an AI and LGA perspective is to increase the citizen and your experience in delivering those services. I have never met an LGA person who says that their work is done at the end of the day and doesn't have anything to do tomorrow. We know that you are a dwindling number and the citizens are only growing. So think about it that way. You can service more. Be safe, be secure, and please continue to be creative. Thanks very much. And if you're keen on our process optimization or strategic change videos, you can click on them now. Thanks very much.